Hi everyone, thank you for joining me today. My name is Stephanie Pordum and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator here in the UK. I shared this card that we made at our last Card and a Cuppa. So I thought I would come and do a quick video just to show you how we put it all together. It features the beautiful Friendship stamp set, which is a photopolymer stamp set. It's also one of our distinctive stamp sets, so when you stamp some of the images you will see there is a lighter and a darker area, giving a bit of distinction to those images on your card there. So when you come to one of my Card and a Cuppa sessions, generally everything is cut and prepared for you. You will do any cutting, punching, die cutting, any stamping that needs to be done. But I also provide you with a full set of instructions, everything you need to do, measurements, an image of the card that we're making and all the products. So if you go away from class thinking, oh, I really like that stamp set but I can't remember what it's called, I feature everything there for you. Card and a Cuppa is a lovely session. I have some lovely ladies that come and join me on a Monday afternoon once a month. And for just £5 you get to make a card and you get to enjoy a hot drink as well. So this is the card I thought I would show you today. So first of all, you always get your envelope as well, very important when you're card making. So card base is Whisper White. So I cut a piece of A4 cardstock in half, which is approximately 14.9 centimetres. I then turn the cardstock and score at 10.5 centimetres, and that will give you your standard C6 card. And obviously you can have it portrait or you could turn it and have it landscape. So we've got a portrait card that we're doing today. So the first thing I did was trimmed a piece of Seaside Spray. This is one of our new in colours, and usually when I'm card making, my trusty companion is my Tombow liquid glue. I used to use a lot of double-sided tape, but you find that the adhesion is not as strong, and after time the cardstock and papers can begin to peel away. So a good liquid glue is what you need to do your crafting. And I generally put a sort of line of glue around the outside and a wiggle in the middle for good measure. The good thing about a liquid glue is this gives you a little bit of time to make sure you've got your cardstock straight and you've got it in the place that you want it. So if you stick it down and think it's not quite straight or I need to move it over slightly, you've got a bit of leeway time to do that. So we're going to leave that bit for now. And then I'm going to show you some stamping. So for the card, for the back, the floral images, I used Seaside Spray and some garden green for the leaves there. Now there's no right or wrong way for this. I sort of just put the stamps on the block and got stamping. So some of the ladies at Card and a Cuppa sort of changed the layout of the flowers slightly. So there is no right or wrong way, it's whatever you go with. So I used a piece of Whisper White as the base to stamp on, and here's my Seaside Spray ink pad. Now our Stampin' Up ink pads, if you haven't seen them before, the ink pad is actually stored in the lid, so that when they're stacked up, when they're stored, the ink will automatically be primed and ready to go. And then they just slide back like that. Always take your ink pad to your stamp. Sometimes if you take your stamp and ink that way, you get a lot of ink appearing around on your acrylic block. So I always say lots of light tapping, ink pad to stamp this way, lots of light gentle tapping. And then I did one up here of the larger. Give it a good push down, make sure you get good coverage. And then I turned the cardstock. I did another one down the bottom there. As I said, there's no right or wrong way, so however you want to stamp this is entirely up to you. There we go. So I have it sort of the right way up that I think it should be. And then if you haven't seen them already, I'm going to bring in my filthy but very trusty Simply Chamois. All this chamois has on it is water, and you just give your stamps a rub and it takes off all the inks. It looks filthy, but I have had this over a year now, and it's still my original one. So the good thing about it is the inks, once they go onto the chamois, will not transfer back onto your stamps. So that's a must-have in your craft kit, I think. So the next bit we're going to do is, in our stamp set, we've got this image down the bottom. So there's a couple of little flower buds there. So again, I'm going to ink that up in Seaside Spray. And again, stamp wherever you feel like there's a bit of a gap. Go over the edge. You don't necessarily need to have a complete image on there. I'll put one over there, and then I might do maybe one down the bottom. And one on this side as well. You can always come back to this later and fill it in different areas if you think that there's somewhere you've missed. I'll just wipe that on my chamois. And then finally I used garden green, and there's a couple of little leaves. I'll pop them on my block. And then I did sort of a few just dotted around, as 5 there. And what you can do is, if you would like to get a different level of colour, if you wanted slightly paler garden green, you can always ink up and stamp off, so you're getting a lighter shade there. Okay, so I'm going to do one up here at the top. Do one over here, and then a couple at the bottom somewhere. Doesn't have to be in exactly the same place as mine, doesn't have to be in exactly the same place top and bottom, just fill in a few gaps. I might do one on the other side. There. What I might do is I might fill in a couple of small Seaside Spray florals over here. Might do another one just there. And the lovely thing about this stamp set is the different images that you have. So there's obviously some smaller ones. I'll show you the front. There's some smaller florals and some larger ones. We've actually used this in one of the evening classes. We made a beautiful card and matching gift box. Let me see if I can show you over here. So that's another card. So you can see, just by changing the colours, you have two completely different cards. The bright's the more subtle. It's very versatile stamp set. You can use it for lots of different occasions. And I think I might take this one here. And I might do a few of those little buds dotted around as well. Just to fill the gaps in. There we go. So that is your base. That's the bulk of the stamping done. And then after that, before I stuck it down onto the card base, I took some of the Whisper White baker's twine and just wrapped it around the card. Now the trick with that is you'll need your dimensionals. So what I did was I attached one end of the baker's twine to the back of the card using a dimensional to hold it in place, and then from there you can wind it round the cardstock. Don't put it too tight. Might move that round actually. The good thing is you can, before you decide to stick this down, you can move it and see if you've got it in the right place. Go, and then I'm going to stick the other end down with another dimensional too, like so. And then I'm going to just pop a dimensional in each of the four corners, ready to stick down on our base card, like that. Let's peel these off. Find that once you're using your dimensionals, you'll find these little hexagon shapes everywhere. They appear everywhere, even in places you've not been. They get stuck to your feet, get stuck to your clothes, and I find little hexagons all around the house. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to stick that down, hopefully in the centre, giving myself a nice seaside spray border around the edge there. Okay, the next part is the topper, this with the sentiment on, and I've used a punch to punch out some leaves to give it a bit of depth. So that's what we're going to do next. I have a piece of seaside spray for the larger circle, a Whisper White for the slightly smaller circle, and soft sea foam for the leaves there. I'm using the 2-inch punch and the 2 1/4 inch circle punch. So we need a circle out of the larger circle in seaside spray. We need a smaller circle in Whisper White. Now I found a good trick with these. If you have a piece of cardstock you think I know is going to fit that shape, but when you're trying to get it into your stamp, sometimes you can't quite line it up where you want it to go. So top tip, get yourself some post-it notes and use the adhesive on the post-it note on one of the corners, and it will hold your cardstock for you. So when you're trying to get it in the punch, you've got a bit more to hold on to, a bit more manoeuvrability, so that you can line it up in the place you want it to go and get the most out of your cardstock. I'm going to punch that out there, and then you can just peel off that bit that you don't need. So for the sentiment, I used I Love Our Beautiful Friendship. So I'm going to get myself, there it is, down the bottom there, and I'm going to pop that onto an acrylic block. Check I've given that a clean. That's where you need to make sure you're lining it up. If you put the sentiment on your block straight, that's going to be a good start when you're trying to make it straight on your Whisper White. Now, if you're not confident with stamping directly onto the cardstock, you could use your Stamparatus, and that will help you making sure you get a good crisp print there. I'm using Pacific Point for the sentiment, so I'll ink up here. And the good thing about using circles for sentiments is you don't have to get it perfectly right, because when you layer it, start to layer them up, you can stick them down in the right place, more central. If you're using rectangles and squares, you've got to make sure that text is straight. Now this the Whisper White circle is going to be stuck down with my trusty dimensionals again. So just put a few on the back there. And stick it to the Seaside Spray circle. Like that. There we are. And then I used soft sea foam cardstock to punch out 3 sets of leaves. So the good thing about this, if you look underneath rather than on top, you can make sure you've got enough space in your cardstock to get as many images out as you can. Go. And then I used a little bit of my liquid glue to just position them behind the circle first. So I put a little bit of glue on the bottom there and then stuck it down. And do the same, I put 2 at the top. And the one at the top, I did actually cut a leaf off of the side, like that. Sit that behind there, like so. And then the last one at the bottom. Side there we are. And then to finish, I'm going to put some more dimensionals on the back, and always use the edges on your dimensionals. Never throw anything away. You can cut those to fit on the leaves so that the leaves are supported as they're stuck down. And then once you've peeled all those off, you can get those, pop those down on your card there. And there you have it. Quick and easy, really effective. I love this stamp set. As I showed you before, if you just change the colours, change the layout, it's so versatile. You can make so many different cards using this one stamp set and a few different coloured inks. I will put all the links to my social media pages, my YouTube page, and my website. So if there's anything here that you liked. If you would like to order the stamp set, I'll pop the link down below for you so that you can have a look at it on the Stampin' Up website. And if you have any questions, send me a message or leave a comment for me. But I hope you've enjoyed just watching our beautiful friendship card. And if you'd like to join us at Card and a Cuppa, just send me a message and I can give you all the information. Thank you for joining me. Bye.